In this video, I will show you how to upload a listing into CRMLS Matrix platform. Not their Flex or Paragon, but we're talking about the Matrix platform in particular. Now I clicked Add Edit up here on the top. It brought me to this page. We're going to click Add New. It's going to ask us what type of listing. It gives us options: residential, residential lease, income property, manufactured home, land, commercial property, or business for sale. We're going to do a house. So I clicked residential. Now here we are. Some agents don't even know these options exist. You can copy an old listing. Let's say you have a canceled listing and you have the MLS ID. Put the MLS ID here. And then once you have that in, you can click Fill From, and it'll import all the data from the inactive listing into a new listing to save you the time of having to fill all this out. And if you want to start from a blank listing, of course, that's the alternative. There it is. But we're not. We're going to fill from tax, where it's going to import data from tax records. Not a lot, but just enough to give us a head start. I click orange. We can put the parcel number in. Or I'm just going to make up an address here just for the sake of an example. Random address. We're going to search. And here we are. We're going to click Fill. And we're on our way. Now we get prompted. It says coming soon or active. The difference between the two is, are we ready to go live now? Or is there a delay? Now, the coming soon didn't exist until recently. Recently, I'm saying in the context of a couple of years out of many, many years I've been in the business. And that's because with clear cooperation, if you get a listing agreement signed, that listing needs to go in the MLS right away. That's an obligation on realtors. And it's part of a program to eliminate pocket listings. It's called the clear cooperation policy. And so what happened was agents were getting listings signed and wouldn't be ready to go active, and then they would enter it and put the listing contract date as several days or weeks prior to the day they're entering it on the MLS, and they'd get a fine. So when agents told the MLS or voiced concern in general about the fact that their client wasn't ready to go active, the seller needed to clean the house, or the seller was out of town, the MLS has this as an option. Okay, you have the listing agreement signed, but it's not ready to go live. So we'll do coming soon as the interim. That way you're in compliance with clear cooperation in terms of having your listing in the MLS, but you're not ready to go active yet. But in this case, we're going to go active. We're going to pretend that we're ready to go. And we're going to, now see, we have all these other tabs here. We're going to go over to basics. This is where we get it started with all the basic information. I'm just going to enter all sorts of just kind of random sample information. Now it's going to ask all these questions. Of course, yellow, highlighted yellow, means that they're required fields. And that's what we're going to focus on. We need to do the minimal amount that's required to get this listing active. Now, of course, I do recommend getting as much entered as possible. In general, the more comprehensive a listing is, the better. It should have as much information added to the listing as possible. It should have at least 48 up to 96 pictures. The more pictures, the better, done by a professional photographer. But there's all these random questions like parcel number available. So random. I mean, it already imported here, right? But we put yes. We don't get hung up on it. MLS area. Okay, so we select a city. Jump down here, put this in, MLS area, we're going to put that in, just put in whatever's applicable. You want to add neighborhood, great, you can do it when your listing's ready to go or if you know it, but don't get hung up on it. Don't get hung up on any of these optional fields. Has all this. Now directions, there was a time agents would write, look at GPS, but I think they flagged that now. So we're just going to write, turn onto Mitchell. I usually just say something like, if I know where the listing is, I'll say like, left on Main Street, right on Flower Street or something like that, because I just put something in there. But this is an antiquated field. And this is actually a good example of fields that don't even belong. But this is actually an old platform. Matrix. I really like Matrix, but it's definitely dated. This is a dated software platform. So there are dated fields that don't apply, and there's really probably no one in the tech side of all this that is in touch with us on the people that are in the trenches, telling them that this is a waste. Whether there's stuff in here that is very random and looks bizarre to us. Is this a land lease? No. Structure type. Kind of a weird question, but we'll put in house. So you got to work with what you got. That's kind of the theme here. Don't seek perfection. Just do the best you can. Year built source. Well, we got it from the assessor, which is also public records. Either of those answers would be fine. Or we could have asked the seller and written seller. Let's just say assessor, because we got this from the tax assessor public records. So they have basically the same answer twice here. Public records and assessor. Okay. Common interest, none. Single family residence. Some of these are pretty straightforward, right? Senior community, no. Is this in an HOA? No. Lease considered by the seller. Is the seller considering a lease in addition to selling? We're putting no. Entry location. We're going to put entry location, first level, entry level. Entry level is the number 1. Only a numerical field can go there. We're talking about how you enter the property. So some homes that might be a split level or something, or built on a hillside, may have different options. Garage spaces, we'll just put 2. Listing conditions. Now, this is a standard sale. If a notice of default was filed, you'd put it here. Real estate owned. Is this a bank-owned property? They're very rare now. They weren't before, but that's what this means. It means, is this bank owned? It's not, is it owned by someone? I see that mistake made by agents. It's real estate owned. An REO is a jargon term that refers to bank assets that are real estate. Is it owned by HUD? Is it a short sale, probate, auction? And we're going to put standard. Let's see here. Okay. Now up here, these are required, but what do? I just do place pin by address. I just make it easy. And it automatically chooses that looks fine, and we're gonna go with it. Now keep in mind, as you go through it, I typically hit validate as I'm going through, because it tells you what you've been missing. And you start seeing that there's, okay, we know by these little red indicators that on certain pages we have stuff missing. And here, what have I missed? So I've missed these 2. Subdivision. I'm just going to make something up. And if you're unsure, look on the tax records. I recommend going to Realist up here. When you do an MLS input, it's good to have a property profile, whatever you use. If you're in CRMLS, you have access to Realist. You can pull up a property profile, and it's likely going to show the subdivision name on there. If you have any questions, talk to the seller about it. But you should be able to find it just by looking around or asking the seller if you have to. Residential real estate is real estate that's between 1 to 4 units. A house, a single family home, is 1 unit. So we're putting 1 right there. Clicking validate. All right, this is done. Now we're gonna move on to description. So I just write this in right up here. I write a whole paragraph right here. All about the property, not about financial terms or anything else, just about the property. Paint a picture in the buyer's mind of what to expect if they're visiting this property. What are the amenities, the features, the characteristics? I don't do anything here. Now, actually, I should say if there are exclusions or inclusions, like something is going to be excluded, you can write it here. If something's going to be included, like personal property that's going to be left on premises and it's going to convey with the real property, put it under inclusions. Exclusions are when you have affixed items on the property that are being excluded. So that's not common, but when it does come up, you can put them here. This is what's going to be syndicated onto these consumer platforms like Realtor.com and Zillow, stuff like that. So if you leave this empty, which I typically do, it's going to automatically carry over this information. All you really need to do on this page is fill this out. And of course, if you have inclusions or exclusions, put them here. And then this, if you want to just do an abridged version of your description up here, you can put it there. You don't have to. And if you paid to have, if your photographer talked you into, if he upsold you to a virtual tour, you can put the link that your photographer gave you right here. But we're going to move on. This is an easy page. We need to get to the features. Look at all this stuff. All right, so this again is using best judgment, not getting hung up with analysis paralysis, and just entering in what you know about the property. If you get stuck, look at the last listing, talk to the seller, check the property, verify. Here's the thing, you don't want to misrepresent. That's where realtors can get in trouble, if they misrepresent something. This is why you should also have your seller initial or sign off on an MLS listing when you're done, so that they review and they said, oh, no, we actually don't have AC. We only have a heater. And you go, oh, okay, for some reason I thought you had central air. So we're starting with just what is highlighted yellow, because that is the minimal requirement to get this inputted. So we're going to go through here. And a lot of this is very straightforward. Now, some of these things, like lot features, you look at this and you're thinking like, oh, what is this? Well, just take it step by step and look at it. Okay. Does it have any of these features? And you just simply check what applies. That's it. This is not something to get too hung up on. Same with community features. Okay. Like this is, I mean, honestly, this is very random. Community features, like, does it have curbs? What a weird question. I have a new listing. Does it have curbs? It just sounds so weird. There's all sorts of these weird things in here. But we work with what we got, and this is the way the MLS is structured. So we go through here and we put it in. Is it suburban? Okay. Does it have streetlights? Okay. Does it have storm drains? All right. And then we go through and we're only doing what's highlighted. Main level bedrooms, attached garage, yes. Water source, sewer. Now, if this is in the city, you're going to be putting, we're going to be putting public sewer. And if it's in the country, I live in a fairly rural place and everyone's on septic. So you put a septic. You put, look at all these crazy, I mean, this is just too many options here. Conventional septic, mound septic. I've seen that. That's when it looks like there's a hill behind the house. It's because the septic tank is there's like a mound over it and the ground is raised. But we just say conventional septic. You want to convey the message. I mean, this is so technical right here. But most of the time it's going to be just public sewer if you're in the city and septic if you're in the country, or unknown if you don't know. You're not going to get in trouble for not knowing, but you should find out along the course of the way. Water source, another thing. If you're very rural, public is what's very common if you're in the city. Just showing you some of the ones that agents get hung up on. Okay, so that's features. Land and terms. Now, what's very nice and handy is that when we imported that info from the tax records, it brought over tax lot, tract number, and the required fields have already been filled out. Now assessments, so you can look at the tax records in Realist and see if there are special assessments. You can look on a county tax bill if you really want, or you can just write none. You can ask the seller, are there any special assessments? Is there mellow ruse? And if there are, great. Just check the box when you find out what kind. If not, just put none. And if you really get hung up on this, put unknown and just check into it. And let's see. So HOA, high school district. If you get stuck on some of these things, just look at other listings. Look at closed listings on the same street or on the same block, and you can find information. And it'll probably say on tax records or property profile if you use like a title company type property profile software. Now here's something that agents get hung up on. Listing terms. So is this a 1031 exchange? Is a seller going to exchange a property? I would check the box yes if that's the case. If not, you know what I do? I check everything that a potential buyer could utilize to get this. So I would go like, let me show you exactly what I do. I'd go like this. Conventional. Here's why. Because owner may carry if the seller is willing to do a carryback. Owner will carry. Look at this. Let's see how silly this is. Owner will carry. Owner may carry. Do you really need two options for this point? But let me show you the flip, or let me explain this flip side of this. When agents have buyers that are looking for certain types of properties, like FHA approved properties or FHA 203B or 203K. Those are FHA with a rehab option. That's what, or the owner will carry. When you check these boxes, it comes up in your listing so that on the flip side, a buyer's agent can put that information in and search your listing. So if your seller may carry and you check this box, the buyer's agent can search for listings in which the owner may carry or the owner will carry, and your listing will come up. So most of these are kind of just irrelevant. I mean, you assume you could pay cash for anything that's on the MLS, but I just check anything that applies, anything and everything that applies. And people call me. I've been entering stuff in the MLS since 2000 or 2001, and I honestly don't even know cash to new loan. I mean, I guess it's like, okay, whatever. Some of this stuff is just so silly. And if there's any ambiguity, everything should be simple. That's it. Bottom line. And this is not. This is a mess. But we're going to put in everything that applies, and we're going to move on. Jump over to Office MLS. I'll show you a couple more things agents get hung up on. And I'm just jumping through these other tabs, assuming that if you sit down, you can just go through and you'll know, does the property have a family room, a formal entry? I mean, this is just very basic stuff that you can enter. So that's why we're kind of glazing over some of those more simple fields. But I'm trying to stop on some of these fields where I get questions from agents and explain that on this, yes, I'd put in as much as possible, and I'd put in special circumstances because that's what a buyer's agent is going to search for. Now we go over to Office MLS. What are you offering the buyer's agent? All right, we put that in. We're doing a percentage. Dual variable compensation. This is a very common one I get asked about. This just means on your listing agreement, if you are the dual agent, if you represent the buyer, does that change the gross commission you're charging? If the answer is yes, then you put it here. Or no, you put it here. So unless you have a provision in your listing agreement that says, if I'm a dual agent, I'll give you a discount, you put no. If you do offer a discount, if you're a dual agent, you put yes. That's it. Pretty simple. Listing contract date should be within a day or two of you entering it, because any further than that, and you're subject to getting a penalty. That's why you got to enter it and put it in it's coming soon if it's not ready to go live. That's just how it's set up. Those are the rules. I don't make them. I just help agents navigate them so they don't get these nasty penalties from the MLS. Expiration of your listing. Almost always we're doing full service. This entry only and limited service, these are for these small outfits that charge a flat fee just to put someone's listing on the MLS and then they disappear. That's it. It's like an MLS only posting and they charge, flat fee amount. They don't do anything else. But as agents, as realtors, we're doing full service, so we put full service here. Listing agreement, exclusive right to sell. That's a standard when you pull up the listing agreement in zip forms. And that's it. This area often causes confusion, but it's pretty simple. Showing instructions and private remarks. Private remarks, I think you should always enter instructions for the agent. The agent's going to submit an offer. Showing instructions, of course, pertain to showing the property. Where's the lockbox? What kind of lockbox is it? And private notes to the other agent. I always utilize this area. Showing contact type. If you put the owner and you put the owner's information here and this property expires or cancels, that owner is going to hate you. They're going to call you and say, my listing expired yesterday and I've gotten 40 calls just this morning of people asking me if I want to relist. You got to be very careful. You got to delete the showing contact if it's the owner, if this listing is not panning out. I would delete it anyway, right before I went into escrow. It just, you shouldn't have your client's information on there, just in general, for their privacy and for your sanity. All right, but I put agent. And I always do other up here. And I'll write in another phone. So we have my general office line. I have my desk phone here at my office. I'm at a commercial space where I work. I also have my cell phone. And you can enter it here and use it. And they give you all these different options of what phone numbers are going to display. You can play around with that. All right, we're going to move on to green. Does any of this pertain to your property? Because I don't know if I've ever filled out any of these on my listings. If you have some sort of green verification, if you have something here that pertains, check the box. Let's see if I do this and I click validate down here. Yeah, so unless you have a green verification, of course, no help message. You have all these question marks and you can click on it. It's like, oh, you wanted help? Sorry, we don't have any. We just had that there, so you thought you had help if you needed it, but since you actually rang the bell, there's no one there to help. Green verification, I would say no. I don't have a certification. I haven't had some green inspector come out. So I don't want to represent something that I don't have. Power production, of course. Let's go power production type. Wow, interesting. This is almost an extension of the green portion. Do you have power production? Okay, if you're going to put yes, you better have a very, very clear understanding of what sort of power production you have to offer. Because again, you do not want to offer something you don't have. The MLS people enter, they forget about it. I'm telling you, if anything goes wrong after closing, someone will grab a copy of the MLS listing and they will stick it in your broker's face and say, look what your agent put in there. And that was wrong. And it's your fault because we bought the home based on this information. It was wrong. And now you're legally liable. You do not want that to happen. So I'm not trying to freak you out, but I'm just saying, if you're going to state something, you must be sure about it. And if not, put no. ADU. Is there an ADU? Getting more common as people are putting these dwelling units in their backyard. Yes or no? Self-explanatory. Open house info. This is handy. If you put it in here, it'll show on when it's syndicated to consumer sites, so people can just come and show up at your open house. Maybe you'll meet a buyer there, get a buyer lead. Maybe you'll dual agent. That can be good. And then you just keep validating. And look, so I just clicked validate. So now we have these three, and it shows you exactly where I have missing information. So on this one, let's just say I choose this. Okay, so land and terms, I just chose high school. Validate. Look, that one's gone now. I just have these two. Now this, of course, is a lot of features. I'm not going to bore you to death by filling these out. And we have office. And I mean, we could fill this out, but we don't need to. And that's it. You're going to keep validating. If you have to go step away from your computer, you can save as complete and come back later. Come back that evening and finish it. Or do it, whatever you need to do. But if you need to step away, save as complete, validate. I do it throughout the process to make sure this is filled out. And then when you finally submit your listing, you'll be able to separately upload photos and shuffle them around. And that's very straightforward. But that's it. In general, this is how you input a listing into the Matrix platform of CRMLS. If you have any questions or comments, then please comment them into the video. Thank you for watching.